Hey, YouTube family and tribe, we are live. I'll give it a few seconds here. Now, remember, I am in Thailand, so this is why it's probably at a weird time for again most people. So this is a live questions and answers with myself, the Chad. But this time, this week, today, we're doing it a little bit different. You can ask me anything in the questions. I'm sitting here on my desktop so I can see everything. Plus, I'm asking you a question. We're going to talk a little bit about abundance today, and I'm just making sure I got my pod mic on. Uh, just because last week when I did this, I didn't have my mic on, so everything's working today. Yes, but anyway, the question is, if you could live, if you could do both, would you? But I want you to think of a. I want you to answer this honestly, but I want you to answer it from a level of abundance. Okay. If you really think abundance is yours, abundance is your birthright, you really think abundance is infinite. If you had a choice to live in two countries, two different countries, would you? Okay. And how do you think about that? How's your mind processing? What's your gut? What's your gut telling you? So sometimes we got to think about that too. We got to, it's kind of bringing, it's a type of question that kind of brings up deep rooted beliefs a little bit. So I kind of want to know what your deep rooted beliefs are. I kind of want to know what, when you read that, when you read like, oh, can I live in two different countries? It's not either or, you can have both. What's your true raw feelings about that? So drop that in the chat and we'll kind of discuss that. Then, of course, since we are live, that's something I will kind of talk about. And I will give you from my own experience of I do live in two different countries. So that's why I thought about this. I live in Thailand and I go back and forth between Thailand and the United States. So I've been doing that since 2021. So it's kind of been not so much half and half. Usually I spend more time in Thailand than I go back to the United States in the summers. So usually June, July, August, something around there. I usually go back for 3 or 4 months. So that's why I kind of thought about this question myself. But thinking about it again, thinking about it in terms of abundance. Okay. And we can kind of twist this question several different ways. Okay. It doesn't have to be, well, Chad, I don't want to live in two different countries. Take it a little bit deeper. What I'm asking you is either or. You know what I mean? Okay, if you think from a place of either or, I have to pick and choose. The question is, are you really living from abundance? Do you really think abundance is yours? Do you really think abundance is your birthright? Do you really think abundance is infinite? Really think about that. If you're going from a place either or, I got to pick and choose. Okay, if you think of abundance and abundance is infinite, well, I can have both. I can do both, no matter what it is. Make sense? So, so that's what we're going to kind of spin and talk about a little bit. But as more people are jumping on, I know most people are probably sleeping in the world because Thailand has a weird time. Remember, lots been changing on the channel for the past couple weeks. We just opened up Live Life on Your Streams Inner Circle, so that will be in the description. Check that out. That's also on the home page of the channel, the YouTube channel, so you can check that out as well. Kind of what it's about. So we just launched that maybe about a week ago. So kind of been working hard on that, getting that kind of up and going, getting content inside the membership and stuff like that. So that's up and going. So check that out. Also, everything's free content on the YouTube channel as well. There's links on if you want to work with me. You got more private issues going on, private matters, or just things, things get a little bit more private, even with when we dealing with manifesting and stuff like that. So some of this stuff is really personal just because, we're dealing with our own junk in our lives, and that's what's hard for people when we deal with manifesting is a lot of times when you hang around and do this stuff for a while, it brings up junk in your lives. It brings up past issues that you haven't dealt with. And you kind of have to go through that. I go through that, and from time to time, I'll a new something new will kind of bring up. And I've talked about this in a couple of my videos, even when we do. I mean, I've only been in Surin maybe almost 2 months now. Even when we came up to Surin for a short time, I had like little issues kind of come up that I haven't thought about for like years. I mean, from my childhood or from being a teenager that I had to deal with. Makes sense. I can't run away from it. At a certain point in your life, you can't run anymore. You got to just face it head on and deal with it. And because once you deal with it, and I find once you deal with it and you really deal with it properly for yourself, is that it's easier to let go. It's easier to move on. It's easier to forgive. Uh, so so I mean, so everything's a learning process. So everything, some things are more private, some things are a little bit more personal to you. So that's why I got like different ways to get in contact with me. But anyway, let's kind of flip back and talk about this amazing question I have. If you could live in two different countries, could you? And what I mean by that is what I've been thinking about. Lots of times we think of either or. Okay. Like for example, I live in Thailand, but if I live in Thailand, I can't live in the United States no more. Okay. We think in those terms about everything. Or we think, well, when I go back and visit the United States, well, I can't have my own place. I can't have a car, can't have things. So my life in the United States is drops. Okay. That's what I mean by either or. Okay. Or we could switch it and say, well, I have a wonderful life in the United States. And when I come to Thailand, my standard of living drops. Okay. This is what I mean by we always think from an either or perspective. Okay. So what I'm asking you again is when we have this either or, it's really coming from a place of scarcity. It's really coming from a place of poverty consciousness, poverty thinking. You know, this is what I'm saying. Like we want to think that abundance is ours, but we still have these scarcity habits, these scarcity mindsets that we fall into. And, it's just something I kind of pondered, just a few days ago. Like if I live in Thailand and I go back and forth to the United States and Thailand, well, I can do both. I can live globally. I can live in abundance in both places. I don't have to pick and choose which place is going to be more abundant over the other. They both can be abundant. I can have both. I can do both. For example, in Thailand, I can, if I want to buy a house, a condo, buy a car, buy a motorbike, motorcycle, I can do it. Same thing in the United States. I can live the same lifestyle globally. I can live in abundance globally.